everyone. I can see the wall of faces filling up, which is great. I love that bit. Hi, Pippa. I can see you there. You're all so small and so far away. It's like, oh. I can recognize some people. Is that Brian there? Yeah, Brian. I thought that was Brian. I thought that looked like Brian. Because I've got the studio lights in my eyes, so I can't really see the screen in detail. So yeah, people are coming in. Hey, listen, can you believe this? I mean, and thank you all. There's a number of people have somebody just waved at me. Then I'm going to wave back. Everybody wave. Everybody wave. There we go. Have a wave. Wave at everybody. And I've had some feedback about this perceptions projection masterclass, and saying that I honestly also can't believe that I've managed to talk for around about 10 hours after today, 9 hours so far, about one thing: perceptions projection. And I honestly don't think that anybody's ever gone into that kind of depth before with this. I certainly haven't. This is like a old Star Trek fans. This is like a Vulcan mind meld of like Mr. Spock going and downloading everything into somebody else's brain. And I've loved doing it. I really have. And then, I had a message from someone saying that they trained with Tad in Sydney, and that this masterclass had taken what Tad taught to a whole new level. And that's a huge compliment to me, and also that's what I'm about. That's what I'm doing, taking what I was given many years ago, and taking it to a whole new level. And so that's fantastic. So I will, to all the people who have given me feedback, Ben, I will be replying to those. But I've been busy doing the master classes. I've been doing the breakthrough session masterclass again, which over the weekend, which also got great. People go you got great reviews. People loved it, and then I've been doing some breakthrough sessions. Well, so this is our wrap up session for perceptions projection, and we've got this thing here. I'm going to the cheat sheet which we put together for you, which you'll be able to. The link to be able to download that will be on the email for the link to this session. So you'll be able to get this as a PDF. You'll be able to print it off. You'll be able to do whatever you want with it. And I'm going to take you through how to use the cheat sheet, which is really the kind of like the shorthand version of everything that we've been talking about over the last 9 weeks. So, and then also, I've been thinking about what the next masterclass is, but then that's going to remain a mystery for a little while. So let's have a look at the cheat sheet, because it is kind of like a review of what we've been doing so far. So step one in the process is, what perception do you want to analyze? Question: person, event, or thing. It's not shown very well on this, but it'll show up better on yours. We've then got a box here, so if you print this off, you can actually, write down in this area what perception you want to analyze. Step two, what exactly is your perception of the person, situation, event, or thing that you put into that box? So you write that down in detail here. Then, if you remember, step three, where in your life are you use the same as your projection? So the example I gave for that was the training I was doing for Microsoft, where I just completely failed to get rapport with everybody. There was 13 people on the training. I got rapport with one person, but I was out of rapport with the other 12. Then I got rapport with another person, and I was out of rapport with the other 12, which was an indication that they were out of rapport with themselves. And it was a horrible day. And, I remember telling you, I thought the guy the manager who'd hired me was going to tell me, we want our money back. We don't come back for the other 2 days. And to a certain extent, I was hoping he was going to say that. And he didn't. And I went home and I was going like, wow, I was already a master trainer of NLP by this point in time. Pretty good at building rapport with groups. Pretty good at communicating, influencing people. And it wasn't working. So I'm going, so how am I going to make tomorrow different? And the only thing I could think of was, right, perception is projection. So what was my perception of that group? They were out of rapport with they were out of rapport with each other. They're out of rapport with me. So I asked myself the question, step three, where was I out of rapport with myself? Or ask my unconscious mind more correctly, and I immediately got an answer. So I used my NLP skills, my HUNA skills, my Talmud therapy skills to heal that up, to get into rapport with myself. Then the other thing that was in my perception was that they immediately shot down anything that I said. It was like, I said something and they go, that's not true, or that won't work in Microsoft. So step three, I thought, okay, who and where in my universe do I do the same thing? Does somebody offer me an idea, and I immediately just go cut it off at the legs and go like, nope, it's not going to work. Don't agree. Won't work in the performance partnership. And a person came to mind. So step three, all I did here in step three was I went, okay, with that person, I'm going to be different in the future. When they come to me with an idea, I will at least listen to it, give it a fair hearing. And if I then decide that I don't like it, I don't think it will work, then that's fine. Or at least when I've given it a thorough listening to the idea, I might go, right, that's good. So all I'd done was step three. I then let go of the fear of going back to Microsoft the next day, time and therapy. Breathed all the way from Ealing Broadway to Reading to Microsoft University. And because I needed the energy. And I got there and they're all having tea and coffee together. And they're all in rapport. So I started teaching day 2. Day 1, they thought the idea of 55%, somebody's got their microphone unmuted, so if you could all make sure that you've muted your microphone. Sally, don't mute all the microphones because that includes mine, right? And that doesn't work. On day 1, they thought that the meaning of communication, 55% of that communication was in the physiology, was completely ludicrous. Day 2, and NLP practitioners will appreciate this here. Day 2, they thought the idea of enlisting somebody's decision-making strategy from their eye patterns was the most logical, rational, sensible thing they've ever heard, and they couldn't believe they hadn't worked it out before. Now, for me, meaning of communication, 55% physiology, eye patterns eliciting decision-making strategy is a major leap. So, I left the second day, I've got a third day coming up, and I'm going like, wow, they were so different. And then I went, actually, who was different? Was it them or was it me? And as a result of the work that I'd done overnight between day 1 and day 2, it was the only thing I can really categorically say it was me. So that was step 3. So you might not need to go any further. Step 4 is when I talked about in the sessions about the fact that perception is projection is not linear. As in, you might send it out to one person and it comes back from somebody else. If you remember, I talked about one of my students who said perception is projection is crap or whatever it is. He didn't actually say that, he said worse than that, but and I asked him, so, why do you say that? And he said, well, I'm doing this deal with Nike, and whenever I talk to the guy at Nike about a particular up-and-coming sports star that I'm managing, he always says, if it's not American, it's crap. Or if he's not American, or if she's not American, it's crap. And I don't believe that. In actual fact, I believe if it is American, it's crap. Which is an example of perception projection, by the way. You probably already worked that out. And, I said to him, well, what is, if it's not American, it's crap? An example of an objection, business objection. Great, what's an objection an example of? A judgment, and a bad one. So I said to him, so where in your life and with whom do you judge people badly? And he went into transderivational search, which for those of you not trained in NLP, eyes are rolling around everywhere. And I just left it at that. I could see he was processing all day. And then the next day he said, can I say something before we start, David? And I said, yeah, of course. He said, you asked me a question, who or where do I judge people badly? And he said, I am probably the most judgmental person in the world. As far as I'm concerned, everybody in the world except me is crap. I'm the only one that's okay. And then he said, so I decided to change that. Decided to be different with people and judge people differently. And he said, I called the guy at Nike last night. He never once said about the same person, never once said, if it's not American, it's crap. In fact, I'm flying out with the young footballer on Saturday to go and sign his sponsorship deal with Nike. Good stuff. So he was sending it out in another direction, but it was coming back from this one person. So the question here is, where or on whom do you project the same as your perception? And we fill that in step number 4. But also got to remember, and this is, that example with that particular student is an example of 4 and 5. He was sending it out globally, but it's coming back from one particular person. Step 4 is also an example of what I said in step 3 was, I said, well, whom in my universe do I do exactly what these people are doing to me? And I'm going doing to me, obviously cause and effect doesn't exist. And somebody came to mind. So it doesn't come back from where you send it out. Then example with the guy that I was talking about, step 5, also remember that projection doesn't come back at the same level, the same logical level as you're sending it out. So like I did with that student, I said, so what is, if it's not American, it's crap, an example of? And he goes, an objection. And what is that an example of? A judgment, and a bad one. So, and he was projecting, judging people badly. It was coming back at a lower level from an abstraction point of view of an objection, or, if it's not American, it's crap. So we also need to possibly chunk up on our perception and go, so what is my perception an example of? Equally, we could then go, and what is that an example of? And then also then go, okay, what are other examples of this, to enable us to discover the projection that's creating the perception that we've got. Now, step 6, once we've got the projection, once we go like, oh, got it, this is my projection, this is how I'm creating this is how I'm projecting this, then quick reminder, if your projection is around negative emotions or beliefs, limiting beliefs, obviously, then process to use, timeline therapy. If your projection is on a person or a demographic of people, a group of people, then the chosen process would be Ho'oponopono. And if you've got a situation where you've got a dichotomy, and I talked about this several episodes ago, a dichotomy where everything's created into dichotomy. So there's dichotomy between you and me. And yes, I did deliberately goes the other way around, or you and me. And that's fine. Everything's created as a dichotomy. The question is the dichotomy working for you or not? Or is the dichotomy in balance? If it's not, then and we have a dichotomy which is obstructing us, resisting us, blocking us in our perception, then the chosen process would be the K-Ave process. And I am, as I said at the time, working on putting together a product in C21NLP.com for the K-Ave process. So that's how to use the cheat sheet. You'll be able to download that. It'll be available tomorrow. I'm going to work on the video either tonight or tomorrow. So you'll be able to get the review of the video and also be able to download the PDF of the cheat sheet. This is the cheat sheet number 6, actually. So there are 5 previous cheat sheets which are already in existence, and I'm working on putting together a video around those. So that's a ordinal presupposition. This is the 6th one, which presupposes there are already 5, which you don't have. So let me have a look. So now it's over to you. Questions about what I've talked about tonight, and any questions that have come up over as a result of the last 9 masterclasses and the last 9 weeks that we've been working together. And I get these questions over text. So if you want to put the questions into chat on here, then those questions will be transferred to me on text on my phone. I'm not getting any so far. You guys normally have lots of questions. So yeah, question from Rachel. which is how does projection work when you're working with a business partner with different projections? Okay, that's a good question, Rachel. So if you remember, Rachel, when we worked on the session on perceptions, projection, and relationships, we talked about astrology, and we talked about your partner, when it becomes a committed relationship, becoming a seventh house relationship, which means that what you project onto your partner is your shadow, which we talked about particularly in intimate relationships. And though it's also business partners, because really a seventh house relationship is the seventh house is about commitments. So, you know, when somebody moves from boyfriend, girlfriend, romantic relationship to committed relationship, then it moves from the fifth house, which is the house of fun and romance, to the seventh house, which is the house of partnership, commitment, etc. So the same thing happens in business. So, you know, an example of that would be, you've got a friend. Friends are in the fifth house as well, fun. And then you go with your friend, right, what I want to do is I want to set up business with you. As soon as you set up business with a friend, it will move from fifth house projection to seventh house projection. So now what you're going to project onto a business partner, just like you would do to a committed intimate partner, romantic partner, is you're going to project your shadow, which is why then you're going to go, wow, if I'd known this person was like this, I would never have gone into business with them. It's not them. It's you. What they're reflecting back at you is the you that you're unconscious of. So that's why all partnerships or legal partnerships are a challenge, is because you know, the projection changes from who you thought they were in the first place to, you know, now it becomes legal, set up a company together. Your business partner's projections aren't different from yours. They're the same as yours. It's just that you're not consciously aware of it. So what they're showing you is what you would want to work on, what you'd want to resolve in yourself, which is why all of these kind of like partnerships are such a wonderful experience, wonderful opportunity for working on your own stuff and transforming yourself, even though at times it might not be comfortable. I don't know if that's the only question that we've got. I don't know. Let me have a look. Oh, no, I've got some more questions come through on here that will make it easier. Okay, so the way I'm getting messages is not working. So I am going to, and you'll have to just be okay with me glaring into the screen. Look around my eyes, not into my eyes. Look around my eyes, not into my eyes. Do not go into trance right now.
David, I'll ask people to unmute so that they can ask their question to you.
Okay, because I'm not getting the text messages.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Leo, can you unmute?
Yes. I had 3 questions. Should I ask all 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So
one at a time, though, Leo.
First, about the previous your answer, does that apply to bosses as well, where your friend become your boss, or is it just partnership?
Well, when you with your friend that then became your boss, did you sign a contract with them?
No, I signed a contract with a company, not with them.
Yeah, so that they're no longer it would change. Friend is a 5th house relationship. Bosses are a 10th house relationship.
Okay.
So yes, your projection would change.
But or other projection.
Sorry?
So I'm not projecting my shadow, I'm just projecting other projections on them.
Yeah, from an astrological point of view, the archetypes you're projecting onto, who was your friend, 5th house relationship, would change, yes. Okay. And how that would change exactly, we would need to look at a natal chart.
So I have a question about the example you gave earlier with Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide to check your projection against how you treat other people or how you treat yourself? For example, the one with the rapport, you could have said, oh, I'm not in rapport with other people. And the one, I forgot the second one, you could have checked, how do I treat myself like that, right?
Yeah, so I do both.
Oh, you do both.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, I went like, how am I out of rapport with myself? And I got an answer to that question. So, okay, great. So let's sort that out. Then the second one, it was just a kind of like natural to go like, okay, so it was like they were out of rapport with each other. So I went, okay, so how am I out of rapport with myself? Then the next thing was that there was resistance. There were shoot me down in flames in a way. So I went, well, you know, do I shoot myself down in flames? Not really. So who do I shoot down in flames? Okay. And a person came to mind. So that's why there was 2 different things that I worked on.
Okay, but you just check it could apply for both, right? So
yeah,
you can get enough, you could get to the other one. And my last question about the money, it's not so much a question. So I did the exercise I'm worth last year and then keep doubling it, but it didn't bring anything. I actually got really excited, but obviously I don't earn this amount of money. So I guess I need to try the other method to flush out my money projection.
Yeah. So just get excited about it. Then then you'd have to ask yourself the question, which I think you probably already have. So how come I'm not making that amount?
Okay. Yeah, I haven't got an answer for that yet, but yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll do also the other techniques you mentioned.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. This was really great. So now that I'm got unmuted, I can also say thank you.
That's a pleasure. Thanks, Leo. Thank you. Are you back in Israel?
Everything is fine. Yeah.
Cool. Good.
Okay, Doug, you're up next.
Yep. So if I'm feeling, David, if I'm feeling another person's projection, which is not making me comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and I've searched, why do I not feel comfortable with that person? Is it actually their problem that I'm picking up on, or is that still something that I've not uncovered about myself?
Perception is projection is all about self. I think the question is, you know, if ever you ask yourself the question, why am I not feeling comfortable with this person? You always get an answer. But if you ask a different question, what is my perception of this person? Then you'll get a different answer. You know, whenever we ask ourselves the question, why am I not feeling comfortable with this person, or why am I not feeling comfortable with this, we will get a justification. We'll get reasons why. So the question would be, okay, so what's my perception about this person? And then how is that my projection? Will get you different answers. And then when you get different answers, there'll be something that you can do about it. And you know, I was talking to a client about this yesterday, breakthrough client. And even with perception and projection, doesn't mean you have to work with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some people you don't work with. But paradoxically, not because you don't want to work with them because they're bad people, but because you just don't want to work with them. And what I used was an example in Hawaii. If you own some land, then you'd build a wall. But the wall wasn't for protection. The wall was to keep the things in that you wanted and to keep the things out that you don't want. So you build a wall to keep your sheep in and to keep the wolves out. But it wasn't with an emotion. It wasn't with like I've got to build this wall to protect my land. It was just, what I need to do is build a wall to keep certain things in, certain things out. Okay. And a lot of time, you know, and a wall is a boundary. So the way a lot of people work with boundaries is they set up boundaries with negative emotions. And they go, right, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want whatever. And maybe they're feeling emotions of anger or sadness or fear or, you know, hurt or guilt. When they set the boundary up. And because of that, from a projection point of view, you actually attract the very thing that you want to protect yourself. You see, protection is different than safety. Because with protection, you've got to go protect myself against what? Compared to I'm safe.
Yeah.
So when you build your wall, when you build your boundary, they work best when you were building a wall, you wouldn't be emotional about your wall. You're just building this wall to keep certain things in, certain things out. So it might be, you know, as I was working with this client yesterday, yeah, he thought it was an away from motivation, because he said, well, I don't want to work with people who do this. And I just went, well, don't work with them, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wall. So those people who do certain things, you keep them outside the wall. And the people that you want to do business with, you keep them inside the wall.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm just relating it to in one instance, an extremely negative, aggressive person that I've not met, and you try to build rapport with them, but they're very anti. So they've created what I call being polite, an FO barrier.
Right.
And then I've got another one that's probing in a business sense, aggressively hunting, and can't take the signal that I'm not interested, leave me alone, and being polite rather than being quite blunt. Again, I guess it's, yeah, there's I understand the concept of needing barriers or let's put boundaries in place, but it still intrigues me as to eventually what I then start to feel is quite negative. It's like, just piss off and leave me alone.
Right. So then the thing to do would be to let go of the negative emotions around that for you.
Yeah.
So that when somebody does that, you just feel neutral. And then what will happen is that they'll stop doing it.
We'll do. We'll try.
Yeah.
We'll not. We'll try.
No,
We'll do. Thank you, David.
Okay, Phil Atkinson, you're up.
Hello there, David.
Phil, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
David, my belief has always been, if perception is projection, to what extent is our wealth, possessions, our home, business, and our career a reflection of our working on our ID and who we want to become? Because I think there's a direct correlation between the two. So for instance, there have been times in my career and in my business when I was doing very well. And there were also times when things didn't go well. And I think my state of mind and my attitude towards life that actually delivered the...
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You know, if you want to simplify it, don't bother asking somebody for $1 million if you don't feel like you're worth $1 million.
Yeah, I did that exercise the other week, and I got uncomfortable about 15 million. So I'm quite happy.
And there was me, Phil. I was wanting you to invite me onto your £30 million Sunseeker super yacht. But I need to work on my projection now.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're not going to have one of them if you only make 15 million.
No, that's what I want to do. It's not what I've done.
Yeah, totally agree. Where you're at in life is totally your projection.
Yeah. David, someone mentioned the other week doing some sort of live exercise as a continuation of this. so that we could sort of develop our action plans and, you know, about our physical health, our intellectual challenges, our personal wealth, and our relationships. I wonder if that's, I wonder if you got scope for that in the future.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's really what the personal excellence program is about. The personal empowerment breakthrough intensive is 7 days of that.
Right.
Of doing all those exercises and working on yourself, big style. I mean, probably more than you've ever done before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we've given some exercises out on the masterclass, and there's certain things that we can do in this kind of like format, and then other things require a different format. So
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. So that's 7 days of exercises and 7 days of one-to-ones with me as well. Pretty intense.
Yeah. Thank
It's
you.
like a breakthrough session on steroids. Does that answer your question, Phil?
Pretty much reflects my prejudices about what you put what you put out there is what you're thinking inside. So you just got to work. You've got to work on everything that's inside.
Yes.
Yeah, and not get in the way, not put up barriers.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So any barriers that you perceive are outside of you are actually inside of you.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the limits are. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and sometimes you go like, oh no, you know, but that whole thing when one finger's pointing out at somebody else, as in a barrier that you perceive, then there's three pointing back at you. The barrier is inside of you. So when you resolve the barrier inside of you, it will disappear outside of you.
Still work to do.
Always, Phil. Always.
Thank you, David.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, Rachel, do you want to ask the rest of your question?
Yeah. Hi, David.
Hi, Rachel.
Just with regards to working in a partnership.
Yes.
So if my partner and I are, for example, running a training course together, I will have certain projections about the people on the course, the material, and my partner will have her own projections. So how does that work in practice? Do we have to sort of like get together and heal ourselves before the courses?
Yes.
Okay, that's a simple answer.
I'll give you an example. When I first got into doing presenting and speaking and training and stuff, I did some co-training with people. You know, I was invited to co-train with people that I didn't know, and you know, I was naive. I didn't know at the time, and obviously, I just went like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And it was a bit of a train crash, to be honest. Then, you know, I met Tad, and then Tad asked me to co-train with him. Tad and I had very aligned values and beliefs at the moment we met. We instantly kind of like clicked. And that was, I met him before I did my practitioner training. then obviously he asked me to co-train with him. So I was on stage with him, and our projections onto the group were 100% aligned, but our projections onto each other were also totally aligned. I mean, probably the best way of describing it is, Tad actually said to me, well, Dave, there's certain things that you in NLP that you do, and you do it better than me. And there are certain things in NLP that I do, and I think I do them better than you. So I'm going to do those bits, and you do the other bits. Whereas I think quite often when you've got people co-training, they're fighting for airtime. Whereas Tad was totally okay with being completely silent on stage, with me leading it, as I was with him leading it, and me being silent on the stage. And from an NLP point of view, that doesn't mean I haven't got anything to do. What it means is that you are building rapport with the group and then handing it over to the lead trainer. And then maybe fleshing out a little bit of the Q&A, a few little perspectives. Then co-training really works. I think quite often people get into doing co-training because they think it'll be easier than doing it on their own. And it's not. Co-training is way more difficult than training on your own. And particularly if you're co-training with somebody where your values and beliefs aren't aligned. And then because your values and beliefs aren't aligned on the stage, you'll project that out into your audience, your trainees, your delegates, whatever, and they will be misaligned. They'll be misaligned with each other, and also they'll be misaligned with both of you on the stage. So absolutely, if you're going to co-train, well, here's the thing. Let's just forget about co-training for a second. When you are presenting, speaking, training, your audience are your projection. When there's two of you co-training, any conflict between the two of you as presenters, speakers, and trainers, you'll project out onto the audience, and they will do that for you. And I've experienced that, and it doesn't make for a comfortable event. So yes, if you're going to do co-training, co-presenting, co-speaking, do some work to get aligned first. Fortunately, Tad and I didn't need to do any work because we were aligned anyway. Yes, absolutely, Rachel. That's what you need to do.
Thank you. I'm lucky. I'm very much aligned with my partner as well. So far, it's gone well.
Good. Good. Any other questions? I will take that as a no then. So, that's me. That's me. Coming back. Echo. Well, it's a one for the money.
Sorry, David.
Two for the show.
David, you got a couple of questions. One was from Miller.
Yeah.
David, how does one deal with someone coming along and saying something bad happened to me? Why has it happened to me? Or why do these things happen to me? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Ron, if you can switch off your microphone, mute your mic now because we're getting feedback. So somebody who says, "Why do these things happen to me?" is an example of somebody who's at effect rather than at cause. So when you're working with somebody like that, then the key thing is to get them to cause and have them realize that in actual fact, in one way, shape, or form, probably not consciously, they are creating it for themselves, i.e. they're projecting it out for themselves. So that'd be the way to deal with that. Yeah.
In the case of it being something really horrible that they wouldn't have, really horrible, like being personally attacked.
Yeah. So the thing you got to remember is it doesn't necessarily come back from the same person you're projecting it out onto, or in the same way, or the same logical level. So you'd need to ask them, so who are they personally attacking? And, they might not be personally attacking somebody physically, but they might be attacking somebody non-physically, but it comes back as physical. Here's an example, it's not my example, it's an example from Tad. Tad had this lady who had a stalker. And he said, well, what's your perception of that? And she said, well, this person's violating my boundaries. They're stalking me. And he said, well, whose boundaries are you violating? And she said, well, nobody's. But then from a little bit more questioning, what came out was the lady was a psychic, and she'd be walking down the street and she would get a psychic hit on a stranger that's walking down the street, and she'd just say, oh, I just got this. This is what you're doing. This is what's going to happen to you, without them asking for it or without her asking for permission, which is a boundary violation. So if you're violating somebody's boundaries, then you've got to expect other people to violate yours. But it doesn't necessarily come back in the same way that you send it out. So that'd be the question I'd ask. So who are you attacking? And it doesn't necessarily mean physically.
And if it's a child who has brought memories from childhood abuse?
Same thing. You see, the thing you got to do with that is you can work with the child, or even the adult that was the child that was abused, to release the negative emotions, and they'll feel okay with the event. And their perception will be still they were a victim. And because they have a belief of being a victim, they will actually continue to project that out. And therefore, in their perception, there will be other people that abuse them, not necessarily physically, not necessarily sexually, but people will abuse them in one way, shape, or form until they realize that they created it. It was their projection, and that they can change that, and therefore in the future they can create a future that's different than the past that they had.
So, for instance, the child that's been abused might say, why did it happen to me?
Useless question. It's not a good question, Robert, honestly. you know, the thing, because all they'll do is they'll get answers, and they're not useful answers. Because the why question is not a useful question, because you'll always get validation. Why do I feel so bad? Because you're a piece of shit, because you did this, because you did that, blah, 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 whatever. And the person will just get more and more entrenched into the problem. The question really that we've been talking about on this masterclass is about really, how did you create that? And what do you need to do differently to create something different in the future? Now, you know, are they going to be easy questions to ask? Probably not. But then from a perceptions projection point of view, that's why the person chose to work with you rather than somebody else. So therefore, you have the responsibility to ask those questions, the questions that other people aren't asking them. Because of what you know. And, you know, when I work with my clients, I have a responsibility to use absolutely everything that I know to enable the client to get the result. And if I don't use everything that I know, then I'm actually letting the client down. And if I let the client down, then I'll let myself down.
Okay, so what you're saying is to ask the person that as a child, how did you create that?
Yep.
Oh, bloody hell.
And you need to let go of the bloody hell, because if you're not okay with asking the question, the person will not be okay with you asking that question. But when you get completely okay with asking that question, the client will be okay, totally okay with you asking it and totally okay with answering.
Okay, thank you. I think I need some therapy now.
Well, here's the therapy, you know. There was the inflatable student in the inflatable school with the inflatable headmaster. And the inflatable headmaster called the inflatable student into his study. And he said, with what you've done, not only have you let yourself down, you've let me down, and you've also let the school down. I can see David like that one. It's called humor therapy.
I think is it me next, Sally?
Yep, off you go, Carol.
Thank you very much, David.
Who's that?
Just a question. It's Carol.
Carol.
Hi. Just understand.
I've just noticed that I've just noticed my computer is about to run out of power.
Okay.
So for some reason, I'm not getting. Let me just check that I'm out. No, I'm not. Oh, there we go. Okay, let me just change this back around again. Right. Carol, sorry about that.
No problem. It was just a question. If your intimate partner is a mismatcher, what does
I don't
that...
think he is. I don't think he is.
Okay. What's the insight in there on perception is projection, or what could I take from what's coming back about my shadow with the knowledge that he's a mismatcher?
So what that would mean is that in your shadow, you mismatch. So the thing would be to get to get totally okay with mismatching. As in letting go of being with a mismatcher being a problem.
Yes, thank you.
You know, I said that was a bit of a joke because Tad used to say on stage, I don't know if you know, but Dave's a mismatcher. And I'd turn to him and say, no, I'm not. And the majority of the people in the audience wouldn't get it. So I think that the thing with, you know, and this wouldn't only be with mismatching, it'd be with any kind of meta programs, is, well, I mean, I think the thing also is that we aren't our values, we aren't our meta programs, where we aren't our beliefs. We're way, way, way bigger than that. We're infinite. And we've got this infinite being that is then funneled into this physical being with values, beliefs, meta programs, behaviors, strategies, etc. And it's not who we are. So one would be around, for us personally, letting go of any judgment, negative judgment that we had around people that had different meta programs, values, beliefs, strategies than us. Because then what we can do is we can actually experience them as they truly are, an infinite being. Also, that then allows the person in our perception to actually change from the values, beliefs, meta programs, strategies, behaviors point of view. You know, I've had some extreme examples of that. When we were doing the veterans program, we actually did a veterans program in a prison. Sally was actually there, and we were told that we were going to be doing this program with people that were being released within the next 3 months to see if releasing their negative emotions, aligning their values, getting rid of limiting beliefs, reduced reoffending. But when we got there, we were in a high security prison, in the psychiatric wing of the high security prison. And all of the people that were on the program were actually in for life. We've got murderers, rapists, arsonists, you know, the whole lot, you know. But they'd all said that they want to do the program. So, you know, you've really got to have you this perceptions projection thing sorted out, because if you go into there going, these are bad people, they'll act that way. And if you go into that situation and go, these are absolute infinite spiritual beings of light that have done things that, from a behavioral point of view, that has led them to be in prison for life, then you can work with them. You can assist them in changing. And teaching cause and effect and results versus excuses and perceptions projection in a general audience is not always easy. But imagine when you're teaching an audience of people that are in prison for the rest of their life, and then teaching them about cause and effect and perceptions projection. That's when you start to really get these things, because you got to get it, because you put yourself in a position where these people want you to help them, even in that really restricted environment. And then you start to go like, okay, right, I really need to get this whole thing about perceptions projection and cause and effect and those kind of things when you're in those extreme situations. Yeah. Any other questions? Sally, 1 knock for yes, 2 knocks for no.
That's a no. No more
Okay.
questions.
Okay, cool. I'm probably thinking now people are going to like bug and ask a question now after having those answers. Obviously, I'm going to do this. I've filmed this particular session because I worked out how to do it in speaker view. So you're going to get this in the final session will be in speaker view rather than in gallery view, and I think that will work out better with this thing here. I've been experimenting with technology and all those kind of things recently, so that will be available. I'm going to work on getting that to Sally to put into an email by tomorrow. And also you'll have the link so you can download the PDF of the cheat sheet, which I think is a really good active kind of like summary of all the things that we've been doing over the last 10 weeks. Thank you all so much, whether you've been here live, whether you've been watching the videos. I've had some feedback from people who've not been able to attend live because of time differences, because of work, but they've watched or listened to all of the videos 2 or 3 times and said that they're learning so much stuff. That's why I do it. So please do give us your feedback about this masterclass, because that makes it even more worthwhile for me and for us as a company and as an organization. We are going to continue doing the masterclasses, as I mentioned to you before. I'm going to give you a week off, and then I'm going to. I'm generous that way. It's the Queen's Jubilee. I mean, I've got to give you a little bit of time to relax and enjoy things. And then I'm going to put up a question. And as I mentioned, I've got 2 ideas for the next masterclass. Again, what we want is your response to that. The response to this one was either I'm in, was just in. It'll be a single word. I'm not going to tell you what the words are yet. 2 words, either one word or the other. And ultimately, I think we're going to run the masterclass on both of them. But this will be, you know, which one do people want the most next? Is the thing with that. So great to see you all, guys. I know here, for those of you in the UK, we've got a long weekend. I shall be playing with aerials and radios, guitars, and watching movies. That's my chill out time. Possibly reading a couple of books. Whatever you're doing, have a wonderful time wherever you are, whether it's here in the UK or not, wherever you are, and you know, stay safe, look after yourselves, and we'll see you on the next masterclass. Thumbs up. Was this good? Was this useful? Yay! We shall see you on the other side, as they say.